The internet is ablaze with gossip, side looks, music, and alleged behind-the-scenes chaos following new reports of an alleged altercation between YandySmith and KirkFrost. And let me tell you, music, if even half of what people are saying is true, this situation is much more complex than anyone could have predicted. According to speculations that are making the rounds on fan pages and in gossip circles, Yandy became aggressive when she discovered Kirk's latest claims. Even stranger is the fact that multiple accounts claim that the whole thing almost turned into a violent altercation. Music, again, these are unconfirmed rumors. However, you are aware of how intense hip-hop and love can be. The streets always speak before the cameras do. Fans are already calling this one of music's most surprising turns in recent memory. Some people who claim to have insider music.T say that as soon as Yandy faced Kirk, her emotions went crazy. She allegedly raised her voice, screamed that she was fed up with individuals controlling each other's reputations, and wanted explanations. Music, some online spectators stated that the energy in the room was so tense that you could feel the floor quake, but they were unsure whether to step in or let the two heavyweights hash it out. The most unusual feature, though, is that this was supposedly more than a basic back and forth. However, it seemed as though he wanted to listen to her but wasn't sure what to anticipate based on the gesture people make when they're attempting to say, "Please let me finish." The bystanders described this silence as a risky moment when all depends on the person's choice of following sentence. Then, according to the tales that are making the rounds online, Yandy started speaking in a tone that was both calming and sharp. Others, said she reminded Kirk of the regard she had always shown him. She openly defended him when some questioned her views on justice and even music. They say she wasn't yelling. Her words were so clear that shouting could never pierce as deeply. It was the music of disappointment mixed with that tone of hurt. The kind where everyone in the room knows that someone's private life has been affected. Internet posts claim that Kirk changed his stance as though the comments had a greater effect than he had expected. Several bloggers' music portrayed his expression as confused, a little disturbed, and recognizing that maybe this wasn't just another argument. His voice was described as low and unpredictable when he did respond. It appears that he was attempting to defuse the situation without realizing the emotional damage music had already inflicted. He apparently tried to let her know that what was being said was exaggerated, misunderstood, or out of context. But at this moment, the strain was so great that genuine efforts to comprehend music felt more like sparks than solutions. Some users even claim that Yandy leans forward slightly as Kirk tries to clarify his position, not forcefully, but with the zeal of someone who needs clear explanations rather than polite ones. They characterize her as not looking for comfort or making patronizing comments. She was looking for acknowledgement, which is often the hardest thing to give when emotions are running high. People are using music on the internet to fuel this. Rumor has it that Kirk's responses, didn't match the emotional intensity of Yandy's remarks. Even if he meant well, his cool, almost detached tone annoyed her. Some said she felt he was downplaying the seriousness of what she believed was being implied, about her. This mismatch in emotional tempo made the room feel like a pressure chamber, with each sentence being more intense than the last. A modest gesture like that, can sometimes make someone feel even more invisible when they already feel unheard. One person, claims that Kirk raised his hands slightly, palms facing front, as if he was trying to indicate peace, but the move didn't go as he had intended. Instead of addressing the underlying issue, it appeared as though he was defending himself, from an attack. Online speculations claim that Yandy took another breath, but this time it was heavier, and almost let her down. She reportedly told him she wasn't going to fight him, because she didn't want her name to be associated with unnecessary controversy. 3 fans say that this alleged occasion was so raw and intense one because of music's sensitivity. Her voice is characterized as tremulous but forceful, and Kate appeared to be straining to control her emotions. The rumor claims that Kirk's demeanor softens slightly as if he now recognizes the depth of what she is saying, but even at that moment, the emotional distance between them felt wide. Some say that he tried to physically close the distance between them by getting closer to music, in the hopes that this would ease the tension, but the energy was still too great. And instead of being comforting, this step appeared uncomfortable. According to online reports, music, someone nearby reportedly shifted uneasily, as if they thought things would spin out of control again. They described the music as unstable and compared the atmosphere to a flame sitting too close to dry paper. But music didn't blow up. Instead, something else happened. People say that Yandy looked away for a moment, as if she needed time to collect herself, but she didn't walk away. There are rumors that this small head movement had an effect on Kirk that he, music, hadn't expected, and others claim that he momentarily looked guilty, the kind of regret that occurs when someone recognizes how his words, even if music was unintentional, have an effect. The place was so quiet that even his softest tone, music, felt loud. He tried to speak again, but this time he was slower, gentler, and more deliberate in his word choice. Internet posts assert that their emotional estrangement from one another was caused by more than just anger. It resulted from years of shared history, musical ties, and all the hidden expectations that come with belonging to the same complex group. Some claim that Yandy's emotional response went beyond a single remark. It was about the burden of all she had been suppressing, everything she put up with, and everything, music, she attempted to overcome. Kirk wasn't just defending himself, however, he was trying to regain equilibrium in a moment when music had slipped out of his grasp. Several witnesses claim that when Yandy finally turned to face him, her voice momentarily cracked. They say that Kirk blinked violently, as if the music had hit him in the chest. Music, the type of fracture that exposes a profound emotional wound. "I'm just overwhelmed, not crying." Fans find this alleged moment so, music, emotional because of how multi-layered it sounds, and even the onlookers reportedly briefly averted their attention, music, as if they feared they were meddling with something too private. Online storytellers described it as grief versus ambiguity, emotion versus misinterpretation, dignity versus unintentional, musical, contempt, and rumors that the room's air looked to be holding its breath rather than rage versus anger. It seems as though the room as a whole shifted to a different emotional frequency when people tell, music, what transpired following that unfiltered moment on the internet. Some people claim, music, when Yandy's voice broke. They say that Kirk stood motionless, unsure of whether to speak or to allow her, music, space, no longer adopting a defensive posture. The room felt, music, heavier than before, as if the air became thicker and warmer, and a wave of quiet passed through it. It was cautious, almost, music, vulnerable in its own confused way. He seemed to be stepping gingerly, not wanting to take another, music, step for fear that it could worsen the situation. Rumor has it that Yandy gently cleaned her cheek. People said it was clear that she wasn't trying to win an argument. Emotions were sitting too close to the surface, not because tears were running. Music, she was having trouble keeping her cool. Because of that small action, the moment felt more intimate, more honest, and more complicated than any simple argument could possibly be. Some followers say that after reading the descriptions, they felt a strange, music, aching, as if they could sense the frustration she was holding. Some posts say that, music, Kirk finally let out a long, slow breath that seemed to have been held within him from the beginning of the confrontation, music. He tried again to explain, but this time his voice was softer that, music, sounded sincere. According to many, he spoke in a tone that, music, escalated more quickly than anyone expected, leading to accusations, profanity, and a level of intensity that required several people to intervene, music, in order to defuse the situation. The cast hasn't confirmed any of this, but the internet buzz hasn't stopped. People are already speculating about strained, music, friendships, broken alliances, and the future ramifications for the entire circle. If the rumors that are circulating are even slightly true, then something important is happening, and the consequences, music, could completely upend everything in their path. Since these rumors started circulating online about Yandy allegedly losing her cool after music, hearing Kirk's most recent round of accusations, social media has been spinning like a whirlwind, music, trapped in a small space. People frequently mention that something felt off about the entire situation. It seemed as though feelings had been building for a while, just waiting for the right time for music to come out. According to the posts that were circulating, Yandy's entire demeanor changed like an unexpected storm as soon as she heard the remarks that were credited to Kirk. The aspect of the music that really shocked people on the internet was how they described her tone. Now that these unverified claims are coming to light, there's an odd tension in the air where everyone senses something is wrong but nobody really knows what is true. They assert that she wasn't yelling for attention or acting abruptly, but rather that the song's tone communicates that they are no longer holding back and that individuals utilize it when they feel abused or cornered. The energy was so intense that even those standing nearby felt as though the floor had turned to glass, music, beneath their feet, according to circulating tales on the internet. Naturally, unverified rumors, sporadic posts, and people claiming to have seen or heard something are the sources of all of this. Some even claimed that Kirk looked surprised, as if he hadn't anticipated her reaction to be so strong. No one in the real circle has confirmed any of this music, but that doesn't stop fans from reacting as they always do. When something significant happens online, people don't wait for official statements. They react emotionally at first, then logically. Some of them say that they have never seen Yandy connected to such a passionate moment, music, and that this alone leads them to believe that she must have been provoked by something serious. All of this, music, is made more intense by the nature of the accusations related to Kirk. The story's supporters assert that as soon as Yandy processed his alleged words, music, her entire demeanor changed, tightening her face and straightening her posture, and that face is familiar to everyone, musicians, who has ever been under a lot of pressure. At one point, the room reportedly experienced a heavy quiet that gave the impression that time had stopped. Some of these posts talk about Kirk's attempt to defend himself, music, but his timing was so off that his remarks didn't make sense. They say that even though he meant to explain music, the strain made everything sound jagged, which increased confusion. Everyone just waited, music, unsure of the future course of events, without moving or speaking. The situation naturally becomes unstable when two musicians stand there with different emotional paces. Yandy, on the other hand, was unwavering, her feelings, music, at the surface, and she wouldn't let anything pass. There are also claims that the music completely changed the atmosphere of the space, making anyone who entered halfway through feel as though they were walking into a fire without knowing why. Some describe Yandy's music posture as protective, as though she was defending something far more essential to her music identity than just her name. According to these circulating accounts, Kirk's posture was stiff but uncertain. He didn't want things to get worse, but he also didn't know how to stop them from getting worse. It's unclear who posted about this first. Music, it could have been someone who overheard some out-of-context music, a friend of a friend, or someone trying to gain influence by drawing attention to themselves. The way this entire alleged event has been reported online, even though nothing has been verified, gives the impression that it is one of those situations where two personalities clash due to pent-up resentment, music, and misinterpreted intentions. However, people run music with a narrative like this once it appears on social media. Until the initial spark is obscured by layers of emotional responses and dramatic music retellings, each person adds their own narrative, detail, and interpretation. It portrays a room full of unsaid music, emotions, escalating tempers, and an abrupt surge of tension strong enough to startle even the most composed people, music, out of their comfort zone. Online accounts of what happened after that intense silence, music, sound like something from a dramatic scene where feelings suddenly arise. Some claim Yandy took a slow breath as soon as the tension subsided. They say that her steady, unflinching gaze was set directly, music, on Kirk, as if she wanted him to grasp the significance of every music feeling she had been repressing. The kind of breath a person takes while trying to keep their voice steady. According to one commenter, The room felt tighter just by watching music, her calm herself, as if everyone knew she was ready to speak from a place far deeper than ordinary frustration. These circulating tales claim that Kirk seemed to want to jump in and explain music, but his timing consistently conflicted with Yandy's intensity. People who are revealing these details contend, music, that Kirk wasn't trying to be rude. Rather, he just didn't seem to know how to deal with the emotional storm that was occurring in front of him. The energy changed with every small movement or opening of his mouth, adding to the complexity of the situation. Furthermore, when someone is unsure, their words sound softer and less music, certain, which simply gives the impression that they are not being understood. Music, Yandy reportedly raised her hand a little. Kirk paused for a music second, his expression taut but curious, not aggressive, indicating that he didn't want to music fight, that he wasn't trying to minimize her feelings, and that he genuinely didn't anticipate things being this intense. Honesty, though, can backfire when someone is already in agony. Some say Yandy listened, but there was a distant look in her eyes, as if she was digesting something deeper while listening to what he was saying. For online rumors claim that Kirk's music response was neither dramatic nor defensive. The music was simple, almost too simple for a moment that had grown so potent, and that he made some reference to miscommunication, misinterpretation, music, or the fabrication of stories. That might have been the case, but the problem was that the damage to music had already been done. The words that come after music lose significance when feelings get too intense. For people often mention that Yandy took a slow step back, snorts, not out of fear but to give herself space, music, to breathe. Witnesses described her as music, anchoring herself, briefly bringing her hand to her chest as if telling herself to keep music composure.